The story you're about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts about historical characters, events, or locations. Please sit back and listen as I narrate this story to you. The story begins in Ossett, a small market town near the city of Wakefield in the United Kingdom. It's a quiet and friendly town, and what happened in 1974 shocked the entire country. Michael Taylor rose to prominence in England in 1974 because of the Ossett murder case and his alleged demonic possession. Michael Taylor, his wife Christine, their 5 children and their dog all lived in Ossett. Michael was described by many of the family's friends as a well-mannered, well-respected, and truly loving and devoted husband and father. And aside from a few episodes of depression due to a back injury he suffered a few years prior, he was a happy and contented individual. Nothing seemed to indicate to those closest to him that anything out of the ordinary was going on in the Taylor household. During the times when Michael's depression seemed to be taking over, a friend of his, Barbara Wardman, took initiative to introduce Michael to a church group called the Christian Fellowship Group. Michael, like the rest of the Taylor family, had never shown much devotion to the church and would frequently miss church services that were held close to where they lived. Michael, who was not religious, eventually agreed to go. Mary Robinson, a 22-year-old woman, led the prayer group. She began to shake and tremble at some point during the evening, indicating the presence of the Holy Spirit within her. At that time, Marie believed she had the ability to heal the sick, and knowing that Michael had a bad back and was depressed, she believed that God wanted her to heal him. When another church member, Mavis Smith, began to cry uncontrollably, Marie was torn about who to assist first. She eventually knelt in front of Mavis and began speaking in tongues to exorcise the woman. To the congregation's surprise, Michael joined Marie in speaking tongues and praying fervently. He became fast friends with the pastor over the next few weeks. Michael began to spend a lot of time with Marie by attending more and more meetings and gatherings with her, and then joining congregations where they both would use the power of God to exorcise people of their sins, frequently speaking in a different tongue to do so. It is also believed that during this time, Michael and Marie would perform rituals together, such as staying up all night during a full moon and making the sign of the cross to each other to ward off any evil intentions that the full moon might bring. Marie even spent the night with Michael in the Taylor home at one point to help him overcome his fear of the moon. It's not surprising that as Michael and Marie grew closer, things in Michael's home life and attitude towards his family began to change. When he was at home, he would start fights and was irritable and sullen at times. This was a significant departure from how he had previously behaved prior to joining the group. Christine reached a breaking point as Michael's behavior became increasingly out of character and disturbing. She eventually confronted her husband in front of the Christian Fellowship Church's congregation, accusing him of having an affair with Marie. Michael began to exhibit the violence that would lead to tragedy before the end of the week at this point. In a fit of rage, he attacked Marie while speaking in tongues. Members of the congregation stepped in to drag Taylor away, leaving the young Marie trembling and terrified for her life. Despite his outburst of rage, Michael returned to the church the following day and received absolution and forgiveness. Michael's erratic behavior was reported to a local vicar and his wife at this point, and Michael admitted that he felt something evil within him. Peter and Sally Vincent, the couple, invited the Taylors to their home to assess Michael's condition. After Michael shattered some dinnerware and threw a cat out of the window, the Vincents decided that Michael needed an exorcism right away. The Vincents gathered a group of friends to form an exorcism dream team, and on the night of October 5, 1974, they performed a 7-hour exorcism on Michael Taylor at St. Thomas's Church in Barnsley. Father Peter Vincent, the Anglican priest of St. Thomas's, led the exorcism, which was assisted by a Methodist clergyman, the Reverend Raymond Smith. Throughout the night, the exorcist burned Michael's own crucifix, shoved wooden crosses into his mouth, and doused him with holy water. All parties involved were exhausted by 7 a.m. The exorcists claimed to have successfully exorcised 40 demons from Michael and were clearly pleased with their achievement. However, The exorcist claimed that Michael was home to 43 demons. The 3 demons that the group failed to exorcise during the procedure were insanity, violence, and murder. Demons, it is assumed, do not allow themselves to be prioritized for the purpose of extraction. The participants in this exorcism agreed that a break was needed before attempting to cast out the remaining 3 demons. They had planned to go back to their respective homes, rest for a while, and then get back to work. They would not have the opportunity. West Yorkshire Police received a phone call at 9:45 a.m. on October 6, 1974. A man was seen naked and covered in red paint wandering through the streets of Ossett. When the officer arrived at the scene, he discovered a naked man curled in the fetal position, covered not in red paint, but in blood. As Ian Walker, a police constable, approached him, the man began to scream, "It is Satan's blood! It is Satan's blood!" He was clearly in great distress as he was making little or no sense. Fortunately, a witness had arrived by this time and identified the naked man as Michael Taylor. PC Walker immediately radioed the 4 officers to be dispatched to Taylor's home to check on his wife and children, suspecting foul play. The police were greeted by a scene of heinous depravity when they arrived at Michael Taylor's home. Christine, Michael's wife, and their small pet dog were found dead. Both had been murdered in the most heinous manner. Whoever committed the crime was obviously insane and evil. Mrs. Walker had asphyxiated on her own blood, but her attacker had ripped off her face, pulled out her tongue, and gouged out her eyes before she died. Her little dog lay nearby, strangled. His legs ripped out of their sockets, and his eyes and tongue were also removed. Officers conducting the investigation quickly realized that Michael Taylor was a crazed killer. There was only one problem. Taylor had no recollection of his crime. Claiming to love his wife, he appeared to have no motive. Michael Taylor's trial in March began with a warning that the details of the case would transport the jury back to the Middle Ages. The evidence, which was sensationally reported in national newspapers, would divide public opinion and turn many people against the church. Michael was found not guilty due to insanity. Christine's death was classified as a misadventure rather than a homicide. He was sent to Broadmoor Hospital for 2 years before being transferred to a secure ward in Bradford for another 2 years before being released. The bizarre nature of the case drew a lot of attention. Michael made headlines again in July 2005 after he was found guilty of indecently touching a teenage girl. A week into his prison sentence for the crime, Taylor, who had attempted suicide 4 times in the years since the trial, began exhibiting the strange behavior that had preceded his wife's murder in 1974. When he was brought back before the court, they ordered him to receive psychiatric treatment once more. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took time out of your day to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twysted Mind, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Salamat!